Good morning. Good morning. Now, today we need to begin with a new portion of medieval Indian history, that is the Vijayanagar Empire and the Bahmani Sultanate. Now, first of all, we'll be talking about the Vijayanagar Empire. Number one, its origins or background. यहाँ से question नहीं आएगा, but for a complete picture, this is necessary. Secondly, its political history. Thirdly, its administration, economy, and society. Within administration, its central administration, provincial administration, revenue administration, and its feudal system known as the Nayankara system. Its village local self-government known as the Ayagar system, and a debate regarding the nature of the Vijayanagar state. So different historians have expressed different opinions. Some have said that it was highly centralized. Some have said that it was completely decentralized, segmentary state. Some have called it an early state. Some have called it a feudal state. तो हमें देखना है exactly क्या nature था इसका, ठीक है? Then we need to address the debate whether the Vijayanagar Empire was the result of and the promoter of Hindu revivalism, or whether religion played an important but relatively minor role in the political life and social life of the empire. ठीक है, इस डिबेट को एड्रेस करना है. हाँ, ये इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. ये और ये इनफैक्ट सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट पोर्शन है. देन another important theme, the cultural achievements of Vijayanagar Empire, especially its most famous ruler. कौन है सबसे फेमस रूलर? कृष्ण देव राय, right? So his contributions and achievements in the field of वेरियस एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ कल्चरल लाइफ, चाहे वो आर्किटेक्चर हो जाए, लिटरेचर हो जाए, लिंग्विस्टिक डेवलपमेंट हो जाए, पोट्री हो जाए, हर जगह पर। तो वंस वी डू दिस, देन वी मूव ऑन टू दी बहमनी सल्तनत। तो वहां पे भी ओरिजिन, बैकग्राउंड, पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री, द कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ इम्पोर्टेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स सच एज फिरोज शाह बहमनी एंड मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली महमूद गवान, राइट। महमूद गवान के जो रिफॉर्म्स हैं हमें उनको स्टडी करना है, एंड वी नीड टू लिंक द फ्यूडलिज्म ऑफ द बहमनी सल्तनत टू द रिफॉर्म्स इंट्रोड्यूस्ड बाय महमूद गवान to the decline of the Bahmani Sultanate, to its ultimate disintegration, fragmentation into 5 successor states. And then finally, we need to address the Vijayanagar Bahmani relationship and discuss its real nature, right? That was the conflict between these two major powers in the Deccan region the result of religious rivalry, or was it based on secular factors? ठीक है, तो वो हमको एड्रेस करना है. दैट इज ऑल्सो गोइंग टू बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन एड्रेसिंग दिस डिबेट वेदर द विजयनगर एम्पायर was based upon the ideology of Hindu revivalism only, or were there other concerns involved as well. ठीक है, सबसे पहले the origin और बैकग्राउंड. सबसे ऊपर हेडिंग डालो विजयनगर एम्पायर, सब हेडिंग डालो ओरिजिन और बैकग्राउंड. Who were the founders of the Vijayanagar Empire? दो भाइयों ने मिलकर बनाया था. कौन कौन? हरिहर एंड बुक्का. Harihar became the first ruler. Bukka was the ruler after him. Harihar came to be known as Harihar the first Raya, and Bukka came to be known as Bukka Raya after they both became kings. Raya was the traditional title used in the region of Karnataka for a king. ठीक है, जैसे नॉर्थ में राजा होता है वैसे ही साउथ में राया होता है. अब ये बताओ that who were Harihar and Bukka before they laid the foundations of the Vijayanagar Empire? कौन थे ये लोग? They were members of the military aristocracy in the region of North Karnataka. ठीक है, नॉर्थ कर्नाटका में बिफोर द एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ सल्तनत इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक देयर वर टू मेजर राइवल्स. एक साइड पे थे होयसालास, who had control of this region earlier. Hello. And then there were the Kakatiyas, whose base of power was Andhra Pradesh, from where they were projecting their power into the Telangana and North Karnataka region. ठीक है, और यहीं पे एक डिबेट इमर्ज होता है दैट ये जो हरिहर एंड बुक्का हैं, they belong to the military aristocracy. They were members of the Sangam family, which served either the Hoysalas or the Kakatiyas. That we do not know for sure. अलग अलग सोर्सेज में अलग अलग आपको इंफॉर्मेशन मिलेगा. ठीक है, बट फॉर द सेक ऑफ कन्वीनियंस अगर आप दोनों नहीं मेंशन करना चाहते हैं तो एक को मेंशन कर दो. मोस्ट प्रोबेबली काकतियाज. So you can call them feudatories of Kakatiyas. In any case, Harihar and Bukka had been assigned the fiefdom of Kampili or Kampilya, ठीक है, and they were governing this region on behalf of their political masters. Either they were the Hoysalas or the Kakatiyas. Now, it was in this background that in 1333-34, the army of Delhi under the charge of Muhammad bin Tughlaq invaded and captured the entire south. ठीक है, हरिहर एंड बुक्का को क्या क्या हुआ? They were also captured, imprisoned and sent to Delhi, where they were converted and sent back again to Kampilya to rule on behalf of the Sultan now. ठीक है, so they became the regional governors of Muhammad bin Tughlaq in the region of North Karnataka. ठीक है, however, very soon circumstances changed. Having conquered the upper Deccan, now Muhammad bin Tughlaq turned his attention towards the tip of peninsular India. He attacked the Malabar region. He was able to conquer it briefly as well. However, when he was in the Malabar and his forces were occupying it, pacifying the rebellions that were breaking out, a plague struck Muhammad bin Tughlaq's army. ठीक है, तो अब परेशानी हो जाएगी. Rebellions erupted spontaneously against the Sultan in the Malabar, right? एंड साथ में अफवाह फैल गई पूरे के पूरे साउथ में. क्या? ये हजारों सैनिक मर चुके हैं सुल्तान के, एंड सुल्तान इज आल्सो लाइंग ऑन हिज डेथ बेड. सो रूमर्स about the sultan's misfortunes spread rapidly. ठीक है, it was in this background that Musunuri Kapaya Nayaka, he was a local chief in the region of Telangana, right? He, seeing the opportunity to overthrow the Sultanate rule, led or organized uh, regional rebellion against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Right? Now, all the chiefs in this region had been forcibly suppressed by Muhammad bin Tughlaq and his force. Right? They all resented the imperial control of Delhi. Therefore, Harihar and Bukka joined forces with the Sultanate or the rebels? With the rebels in 1334, and after 2 years of fighting, they were able to end the influence of Delhi in their region in northern Karnataka. Right? अब ये मुसूरी कपाया नायका है, he used religion as a lightning rod to mobilize support for his rebellion. Okay? So he gave the call of Hindu revivalism. He said that the rebellion was not an ordinary political rebellion. It was a pious act to protect or defend the Hindu faith and its way of life from Islam, which was being forcibly imposed upon this region by Muhammad bin Tughlaq and his forces. Okay? Now, of course, this kind of a religious call to action is going to be extremely emotional and powerful, and the other rulers of this region such as Harihar and Bukka responded to it, क्योंकि उनको भी लगा कि हाँ ये वाला strategy succeed कर सकता है. Then along with this there is another legend, and it is to do with Harihar and Bukka and their guru Vijayanagara. Right? Vijayanagara was the spiritual mentor of Harihar and Bukka, and according to legend, क्या रोल परफॉर्म किया है इसने? He reconverted the two brothers, right, Harihar and Bukka, convinced them to overthrow Islamic rule and protect the Hindu Dharma. Promote the Hindu culture and establish a strong Hindu state to provide permanent shelter to the Hindu religion, right? With its capital at Vijayanagar on the banks of the river, on the river Tungabhadra, right? So this was the role of Vidyaranya. कितना सही है कितना नहीं है that we cannot say with certainty, but the stories associated with the origin of the Vijayanagara Empire, which were written after it had already been created, give more credence, give more weight to this narrative. Now, this may well be real or imagined, that we cannot say with certainty. So, it was through rebellion against the imperial power of Delhi that the Vijayanagar Empire had come into being. Okay? It was not the only political unit to emerge in the Deccan region during this period. Now, many former kingdoms had been conquered by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Some of them were able to revive their power, such as the Kakatiyas of Warangal. For a short period, the Hoysalas of Halibut. But some new powers also emerged, such as the Reddis of Valema, the Musurnuri Nayakas, the Sultanate of Madurai, and the Bahmani Sultanate. ठीक है? All of them were the products of the same rebellion against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. ठीक है? तो क्या लगता है? Were all of them taking the help of the same cause of Hindu revivalism, या फिर सबके अलग अलग स्ट्रैटेजीज रहे होंगे? सबके अलग अलग. It is obvious that the Islamic powers, the Sultanate of Madurai and the Bahmani Sultanate, would not give the call for Hindu revivalism, protection of the Hindu faith, right? So at least they, we can say with certainty, were not rebellions or which represented Hindu revivalism. Okay? Rather, it appears that this was a great period for a new state formation. Rebellion had given a great opportunity for the local ambitious rulers, local ambitious personalities to overthrow the control of Delhi. Delhi had suddenly become very strong, and then immediately after that suddenly become very weak. So what the entrance of the force of Delhi had done in this region was, it had stirred the pot. क्योंकि इसके पहले कई सारे traditional rulers थे, they had been ruling this region for a long period. Under them, it may not have been possible for these new political outfits to emerge and succeed. But because Delhi had eliminated, weakened many of the previous rulers, new ones were given the opportunities to emerge. Therefore, more than a religious project, this rebellion represented the regional assertion of independence against imperial authority rather than a religious movement or revival. ठीक है? And this idea that it was a regional assertion of independence is also supported by some other facts. For example, the relationships between these regional powers क्या demonstrate करते हैं ये? That was religion the only factor in shaping relations, foreign relations, interstate relations, या फिर secular factors dominate कर रहे थे? Secular factors, right? So you will find that at times the Vijayanagara Empire was aligned with the Bahmani Sultanate against some of the other powers, such as the Gajpatis of Odisha or the Reddys of Telangana, etc. Okay? So, relationship between these regional powers were dominated by secular considerations. Secondly, their internal religious policy इसमें क्या पैटर्न दिख रहा था? That although these regional states may have given patronage to one religion over and above other religions, but that did not mean that they discriminated against any religion. Okay? There was non-discrimination. For example, in the Vijayanagara Empire, there were several Muslim soldiers. Deva the first in his army had added 10,000 Muslim archers. He already had 2,000 Muslim soldiers, cavalrymen, before that. Later on, Krishna Raya also employed a large number of Muslim soldiers in his army, right? Similarly, the opposite was also the true. A large number of Marathas were involved in the army, were inducted into the army by Mahmud Gawan, right? तो रिलीजन के बेसिस पर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन कम होता था, ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि नहीं होता था, बट had religion been the most important factor, तो बहुत ज्यादा डिस्क्रिमिनेशन था, उतना नहीं हो रहा था. Thirdly, the conflict especially the conflict between the Vijayanagara Empire and the Bahmani Sultanate, although it often took a bloody religious turn, इसके root causes क्या थे? Simply because their religion was different, or were they both interested in some strategic regions? So it was mainly geostrategic and economic conflict. So it happened due to the geostrategic and economic causes, and it is a different matter that it often took a religious hue, a religious tinge. ठीक है. So keep these things in mind for our future debate on whether the Vijayanagara Empire was a manifestation of a Hindu revivalism. ठीक है. तो ये हो गया है अपना origin of the Vijayanagara Empire. क्या क्या देखा है हमने? That founders were Harihar and Bukka. They were members of the military aristocracy in the region of North Karnataka at a place called Kampili or Kampilya, serving as the feudatories of either the Hoysalas or the Kakatiyas of Warangal. When in 1333-34 Muhammad bin Tughlaq invaded and conquered the entire south, Harihar and Bukka were also captured, imprisoned, taken to Delhi and converted, after which they were restored to their role of governors of Kampilya. Only now they would be serving Muhammad bin Tughlaq. It was in this scenario that Muhammad bin Tughlaq attacked Malabar, where he faced a serious setback when a plague broke out. Spontaneous rebellions erupted against the Sultan in the Malabar. He had to withdraw from there, and at the same time, rumors about the Sultan's death and weakness of Delhi spread about. Taking advantage of this opportunity, a locally ambitious chief in the region of Telangana, Musunuri Kapaya Nayaka, organized a regional rebellion against Muhammad bin Tughlaq, giving the call for Hindu revivalism. Harihar and Bukka, seeing the opportunity that had emerged, joined forces with the rebels to overthrow the influence of Delhi. The Nayakas had presented the rebellion as a movement to protect and defend the Hindu faith and Hindu way of life from Islam. But it was largely the assertion of regional independence from imperial control, imperial authority of Delhi. Vidyaranya, the spiritual mentor of Harihar and Bukka, reconverted the two brothers, convinced them to overthrow Islamic rule and protect the Hindu Dharma, promote Hindu culture and establish a Hindu state with its capital at Vijayanagara. At least this is the narrative. However, the rebellion also resulted in the creation of a large number of other regional powers in the south. Not all of them were Hindu powers. They were two prominent Islamic powers, the Sultanates of Madurai and Bahmani Sultanate. And therefore, the idea that all of them were the result of Hindu revivalism, that does not appear to be very convincing. Rather, it seems that secular considerations were more powerful, and thus these rebellions were regional assertions of independence against imperial authority rather than a religious movement or revival. This fact is also borne out by the pattern of relationships which emerged between these regional powers following the end of Delhi's influence. Their internal religious policy also showed a heavy tinge of non-discrimination. Although the conflict took a religious turn, in its root causes, it was basically a geostrategic and economic conflict. ठीक है, तो इसको लिखवाना है या फिर आगे बढ़ सकते हैं? आगे बढ़ जाएं. ये हो गया ओरिजिन. नेक्स्ट क्या डिस्कस करना है हमको? पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री ऑफ द विजयनगर एम्पायर. How many dynasties ruled in Vijayanagar from beginning to the end? 4 dynasties. ठीक है. Which are these? The Sangama dynasty, Saluva dynasty, Tuluva dynasty and the Aravidu dynasty. हाँ, विजयनगर में शुरू से एंड तक ये 4 डायनेस्टी के राजाओं ने रूल किया. संगम डायनेस्टी फ्रॉम 1336 to 1485. Saluva from 1485 to 1505. Tuluva from 1505 to 1572 and Aravidu from 1572 onward till the Vijayanagar rulers vanished into obscurity sometime during the 18th century. ठीक है, तो ये 4 डायनेस्टीज ने रूल किया. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल संगम डायनेस्टी. सबसे पहले रूलर्स कौन थे संगम डायनेस्टी के? हरिहर एंड बुक्का. So give the subheading Sangam dynasty and then under that Harihar and Bukka. Write down. Harihar became the first ruler of Vijayanagar in 1336 and was succeeded by his brother Bukka as king in 1356. And was succeeded as ruler by his brother Bukka in 1356. Full stop. Next point. They set up their capital on the banks of the river, Tungabhadra, and gradually expanded their control. Full stop. Next point. Harihar entered a matrimonial alliance with the Hoysalas when he had his sister married to the Hoysala ruler Baldev the third. ठीक है. What happened after the death of Baldev the third? He had died without producing any successor. तो अब क्या होगा राज्य का? It is going to be merged with the rising power. Write down. The Hoysala territory हाँ उसी पॉइंट में was later merged with the Vijayanagar Empire after the death of Baladev III. after the death of Baldev the third. Next point लिखो. In 1356, comma, the Vijayanagar Bahmani conflict erupted. The Vijayanagar Bahmani conflict erupted when the Raichur Doab was captured by the Bahmanis. This conflict is going to continue for the next 200 years. Okay? So stop. This conflict continued for the next 2 centuries. Next point. At the same time, comma, Vijayanagar kept on expanding. In all directions. Full stop. In 1377, full stop, it captured or it conquered the entire territory of the Madurai Sultanate. ठीक है? Now, the conquest of Madurai was undertaken by Harihar II. He was the successor of Bukka Raya. You can write this point down also. Madurai was conquered by Harihar II, the successor of Bukka Raya. Now, with the conquest of Madurai, the entire region of the deep south, right from the Krishna river up to the region of Kanyakumari, that was under the control of Vijayanagar. So, अब वो कहाँ देखेंगे? They are going to look beyond this region, right? Both to their north and further to the south. South of Tamil Nadu क्या आता है? श्रीलंका आता है, right? तो चूलाज ने भी वहां पे अपना कंट्रोल एक्सर्ट किया था. He is also going to try and repeat the same. Write down. Having established his authority over the whole of the deep south, comma, he sent an expedition to Sri Lanka. And to the north, who were the biggest rivals of Vijayanagar? Bahmanis, right? उनसे भी लड़ाई चालू रहेगी. Write down. Next point, he also snatched Belgaum and Goa from the control of the Bahmanis. From the control of the Bahmanis. Full stop. He was also able to recover the Raichur Doab. He was also able to recover the Raichur Doab. Right. किस रीजन की बात कर रहे हैं हम? We're talking about this region ना. So roughly ये है Krishna River and this demarcated the boundary of the Vijayanagar and Bahmani Sultanate. By 1377, this entire region was either under the direct or indirect authority of the ruler of Vijayanagar. विजयनगर का कैपिटल यहाँ पे, ठीक है. The northern tributary of the Krishna River is known as the Tungabhadra, right? तो ये वाला जो रीजन है that is known as the Raichur Doab, ठीक है. Further, the Bahmanis also controlled the important port of Goa. उसके लिए लड़ाई हो रही थी. And later, जो कृष्णा गोदावरी डेल्टा है, after the Kakatiyas and Reddys were eliminated, now this emerged as a new zone of conflict as well between the two major powers in this region. Bahmani Sultanate, on the other hand, stretched from the region of Khandesh to roughly this territory. Okay? Later on, of course, it expanded. So, from coast to coast, it was able to establish its influence. Capital क्या था इनका? First, गुलबर्गा and then बीदर, ठीक है. हाँ, पहले गुलबर्गा था, बाद में शिफ्ट कर दिया बीदर कर दिया. विजयनगर remained the capital from the beginning right up to the battle of राक्षस तगड़ी, after which 1565 के बाद it was transferred to Chandragiri. But by this point of time, Vijayanagar power had declined and it no longer remained a match for the other major powers of this region, namely the three large sultanates of the Deccan region, Ahmednagar, Bijapur and Golconda. तो उनके पावर को मैच नहीं कर पाया. Bijapur and Golconda kept on expanding their authority over the territories of Vijayanagar, and by the 18th century almost पूरा खत्म हो चुका था विजयनगर एम्पायर. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया ये रीजन. यहां तक का कहानी समझ में आया है ना? Next important development is going to take place under the ruler Devaraya the first. ठीक है, तो give a new subheading. पहला subheading आपने दे दिया हरिहर एंड बुक का. इसमें आप you can even add हरिहर दी सेकेंड. ठीक है, हरिहर बुक्का एंड हरिहर दी सेकेंड, पहला वाला हेडिंग. सेकेंड वाला देवराया दी फर्स्ट. देवराया दी फर्स्ट सलुवा डायनेस्टी में ही है, सॉरी संगम डायनेस्टी में ही है ये. राइट डाउन. the struggle for the Doab region renewed under Devraya the First. अंडर देवराया दी फर्स्ट. ठीक है, तो इस रीजन के लिए लड़ाई होनी दोबारा शुरू हो गई ड्यूरिंग द रेन ऑफ देवराया दी फर्स्ट. हु वाज द कंटेम्पररी सुल्तान ऑफ बहमनी किंगडम? Firoz Shah Bahmani, right? Now, in the initial part of this conflict, Firoz Shah Bahmani was able to defeat Devraya the First with the help of the rulers of this region. यहाँ पे कौन रूल कर रहा था? The काकतियाज. काकतियाज और इनके बीच में एक अलायंस था. बहमनीज और काकतियाज के बीच में अलायंस. राइट डाउन. Initially, the alliance of the Bahmanis with Warangal was able to defeat Devraya the First. Who was forced क्या कंडीशंस एक्सेप्ट करवाने के लिए मजबूर किया? फोर्स टू नंबर 1 एक्सेप्ट कंट्रोल ऑफ the Bahmanis over the northern region of the Raichur Doab. So some territory had to be given up. Secondly, pay war indemnity. Thirdly, marry one of his daughters to Firoz Shah Bahmani. ठीक है. However, after this, Firoz Shah Bahmani got complacent. He felt that Devraya the First had been considerably weakened and he had been humiliated. He would not be able to recover. But क्या किया देवराया the First ने? He got into an alliance with the Kakatiyas of Warangal and jointly they attacked the Reddis of Telangana. So they split the territory of Telangana between them, thus strengthening themselves. Firoz Shah Bahmani also got a new base of operations in the north, क्योंकि यहाँ साउथ ऑफ द तुंगभद्रा से गुलबर्गा को चैलेंज करना that would not be very easy. But if you could find a suitable base adjacent to the Bahmani territory, Bahmani capital, then it would be much better. So he was able to secure this. And with this, उसने एक और important चीज करी थी. What was the biggest strength of the Bahmanis? Their alliance with the region of Warangal, with the kingdom of Warangal. That had been split now. तो alliance जो था dissolve हो गया था. The Bahmanis were now alone. Taking advantage of this, Devraya the First avenged his earlier defeat and took back the control of all the regions that he had lost. So write down. Later, comma, Devraya the First made an alliance with Warangal to split the Reddy kingdom in Telangana. To split the Reddy kingdom in Telangana. So stop. Subpoint. With this master stroke, not only was he able to isolate the Bahmanis, but also find a new forward base close to the Bahmani capital. Find a new forward base close to the Bahmani capital. Full stop. Next point. He inflicted a crushing defeat on Firoz Shah Bahmani and annexed the entire Raichur Doab. ठीक है? Is this clear? ये हो गया कौन? देवराया दी फर्स्ट. नेक्स्ट देवराया दी सेकंड. Write down. Vijayanagar continued to remain the most prominent power in the region. Continued to remain the most prominent power in the region. Full stop. Power in the region. Full stop. Next point. Devraya further strengthened his military. Devraya further strengthened his military by inducting 2,000 Muslim archers who were assigned their own jagirs. Full stop. According to Farishta, he was a 16th century historian in the Bijapur Sultanate. ठीक है? Farishta. This was in addition to the 10,000 Muslim soldiers already serving in the Vijayanagara army. Full stop. Next point. According to Ranu Nunez, कौन था ये? पोर्चुगीज ट्रैवलर था, ठीक है, अकॉर्डिंग टू फरानो न्यूनेस, कॉमा, द रूलर ऑफ विजयनगर, the ruler of Vijayanagar received tribute from the kings of Sri Lanka, Tegu, Tenasserim, Malaya, and Quinlan. क्या सजेस्ट करता है ये? If Harihar II is receiving tribute from the rulers of Sri Lanka, Pegu, Tenasserim, Malaya and Quinlan, तो क्या समझ में आता है? All of these rulers must have accepted his overlordship. They were his subordinates. However, most historians do not believe this to be the case, right? It was a common practice for friendly kings in those periods to exchange gifts with each other. तो जो गिफ्ट यहाँ से विजयनगर में पहुंचते थे वो तो न्यूनेस को दिखे, लेकिन जो गिफ्ट विजयनगर से वहां पे गए थे वो तो नहीं बता पाएगा ये, राइट? That is why he may have interpreted them as tributes. Since these were kingly gifts, काफी valuable भी होते होंगे. That is why they may have appeared to be as. Write down. However, modern historians doubt whether Vijayanagar was powerful enough to extract tribute from the Indian Ocean region. ये पेगू, तेनासरीम और मलया कहाँ पर है? South East Asia. Pegu and Tenasserim are the two coastal regions of Burma, Myanmar. Malaya further to their east, present day Malaysia, सिंगापुर मलेशियन पेनिनसुला वाला रीजन है, उसको बोलते हैं मलया, राइट? क्विनलॉन, कोल्लम, केरला, श्रीलंका, नॉर्दर्न श्रीलंका तो आपको पता ही है यहाँ पर, राइट? So they expressed doubts whether he was powerful enough. Now, one major development that was taking place during the reign of Devraya was the increasing feudalization of polity. Okay, write down. The feudalization of polity was becoming an increasingly prominent feature of the Vijayanagar Empire. Right? Now, how had the Vijayanagar Empire emerged? Through a military rebellion against the Delhi Sultanate. How had it been able to survive in the extremely hostile environment of South India till this point of time? Because of its military strength. How had it been able to expand its authority? On the basis of its military power, right? तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट विंग ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट क्या बनेगा? मिलिट्री, ऑब्वियसली. राइट डाउन. द विजयनगर एम्पायर, was a classic military state. Was a classic military state. Full stop. It had been created on the basis of military power and depended chiefly upon its military strength for survival and expansion. For survival and expansion. Full stop. Due to constant warfare, the polity became increasingly feudalized. So who became the most important class of officials within the empire? Civilian officials or military officials? Military officials सबसे ज़्यादा significant वही थे. So they tried to maximize their roles, right? Further, इसमें एक और तड़का लगेगा. Initially, these military officials were paid in the form of non-hereditary temporary land grants known as Amaram lands. But gradually, as these military officials became more and more powerful, what is going to happen to the nature of these grants? They are going to become permanent and hereditary. Military office is also going to become hereditary in nature. And your top military officials हैं, they are going to transform their families into regional feudal dynasties. ठीक है? So write down. Top military officials gradually emerged as autonomous regional feudal chiefs. इसका रिजल्ट क्या होगा? Is it going to impact the king's authority in any manner? Provincial administration में centralization को जो element है, because of the emergence of feudal lords, is it going to increase or decline? Decline हो जाएगा, because these regional rulers are going to assert their independence. So write down. This resulted in the deterioration of central authority outside the core zone. ठीक है? So what is the new reality within the Vijayanagara Empire? There is no single top dog who is maintaining control and peace across the entire territory. Now, a large number of extremely powerful and ambitious feudal lords have emerged. और वो क्या करेंगे? Often they are going to try and maximize their resources, their authority, their independence, and this is going to bring them into conflict not only against the king but also against each other. Alliances, counter alliances, ये सब अब form होने लग जाएंगे. Is this a recipe for a healthy and stable future या फिर chaos बना सकता है ये? Chaos, especially if these relations are not managed by an excellent administrator and a diplomat. And this is exactly what happened after the death of Deva II also. Write down. This created intense internal conflict and rivalry. Full stop. Devraya II was able to manage. Devraya II was able to manage the chaos. Was able to manage the chaos with his expert diplomacy. With his expert diplomacy. However, his death was followed by a major civil war. A major civil war. ठीक है? Now, are the traditional enemies of Vijayanagar going to sit silently and watch? या फिर वो भी फायदा उठाएंगे? फायदा उठाएंगे, right? So the Bahmani rulers took advantage of the misfortunes and internal struggles of Vijayanagar, and they gradually began to capture one territory after the other. The empire began to shrink. The authority of the Vijayanagar ruler also continued to steadily decline. Many of his former Nayakas, जो top military leaders थे, feudal lords थे, they started to assert independence. Write down. Subpoint. As a result, comma, the authority of his successors, gradually declined. The authority of his successors gradually declined along with their territory. Full stop. The external enemies also capitalized on the internal chaos and further occupied or further expanded their territory at the cost of Vijayanagar. ठीक है? So this was the scenario in Vijayanagar after the death of Devraya II. Devraya II died sometime in the 1440s, and the same thing continued for the next 40 years till the Saluva dynasty. Sorry, 1460s में उसका डेथ हुआ. I think 1466 he died, right? And following this, for the next 20 years, यही civil war, internal chaos, shrinkage, ये सब चलता रहेगा till the Saluva dynasty was founded by Saluva Narasimha. Who was he? He was a prominent military leader. So he was one of the feudatories of the former Sangam rulers. Okay? Ultimately, he became powerful enough to overthrow the last Sangam ruler and establish his own sovereignty. Okay? So write down Saluva dynasty. The last ruler of the Sangam dynasty was overthrown by Saluva Narsimha. By Saluva Narsimha. The former governor of Chandragiri. Full stop. Next point. He was able to arrest the decline within the empire by curtailing the power of other ambitious feudal lords. Full stop. Next point. What was he not able to do? He was not able to recover the losses to the Bahmanis. Write down. However, he was not in a position to recover lost territories. ठीक है? Now, he had adopted a very stern policy against the other top military officials, Nayakas or Amar Nayakas. So would they be happy or unhappy? Unhappy honge, right? Now, till he remained in place, other people were afraid. What is going to happen after his death? They are going to challenge the authority of his successors. So, जो later Sangama rulers ने problem face किया, that same problem was also faced by the successors of Tuluva Narasimha also. ठीक है? So write down. हाँ बंद कर दो. कहाँ पे है? रुको बैठो. हाँ विंडो खुलता है. हाँ गैस का स्मेल आ रहा है. ओके तो एक मिनट रुको. लेट मी सी. यहाँ पे खुलता है. लॉक्ड है. हाँ बुलाना पड़ेगा शायद. एनीवे तो अभी हाँ सर एक खोल दीजिए प्लीज. खिड़की नहीं, खिड़की खोल दीजिए. खुलता है ना? जैम्ड. अच्छा एसी अभी बंद किया है. ठंड लग रही है. एसी में कुछ शायद लीकेज हो रहा है. गैस का स्मेल आ रहा है. बोल रहा है. छोड़ दीजिए रहने. हाँ नीचे. अरे यार कांच वाँच टूट जाएगा. वो नहीं हो रहा है. ठीक है कोई इशू नहीं है. 10 मिनट बाद एसी चला देंगे हम दोबारा से. हाँ हाँ तो हम क्या बता रहे थे? दैट हिज एटीट्यूड टुवर्ड द other feudal lords had been extremely strict and they were resenting it. Write down. हाँ. However, he was not in a position to recover the lost territories. Next point लिखो. Tuluva Narasimha had suppressed the other military leaders forcibly, the other military leaders forcibly, leading to resentment, had suppressed other military leaders forcibly, leading to resentment, and thus his successors had to face a backlash from this quarter, from this quarter. Had to face a backlash from this quarter. ठीक है? So while Suluva Narasimha had been able to restore normalcy, this had only been temporary, permanent नहीं कर पाया, right? Therefore, next point, therefore, stability remained elusive, and it was in this background that the Tuluva dynasty was established. Founder Veer Narasimha. ठीक है? Write down. Taking advantage, Tuluva dynasty. Taking advantage of the internal chaos, comma, Veer Narasimha established his control over the entire territory, replacing the last Saluva ruler, of the internal chaos. Veer Narasimha established his control over the entire territory, replacing the last Saluva ruler, Full stop. Next point. However, comma, it was Krishna Raya who not only restored stability but also revived Vijayanagar as a major regional power, Now, how did Krishna Raya achieve this? कैसे करेगा? Look, by this point of time, the feudal system had already emerged. It was already causing a lot of problem for the center. So what Krishna Raya did was that he gave the feudal administration a legal basis. He introduced what is known as the Nayankara system. thus replacing provincial administration, right? Till now, the different rulers of the empire had been appointing their own provincial governors or Rajyapals, right? Now, these Rajyapals or the provincial government represented a challenge to the authority of the local feudal lord, that is the Amarnayaka, right? So Amarnayaka is always going to want to subvert the provincial administration. इसको किसी तरह से derail कर दो, राज्यपाल को किसी तरह से हरा दो, अपने region से expel कर दो, so that the influence of that regional feudal lord may be enhanced. By removing the provincial administration and replacing it with the feudal administration, Krishna Raya had been able to eliminate this internal conflict. Okay? So this was one master. At the same time, Krishna Raya also brought about important changes in military administration. क्या होगा अब military administration में? Till now, the military was divided under the control of different feudal lords. Now, all these feudal lords will have to be present in the capital, especially on occasion of Vijayadashmi or the king's birthday, and they will have to swear oaths of fealty. And they are not going to come there alone. They are going to come there with a portion of their military, and military को विजयनगर के through parade करवाया जाएगा, right? This was not only a show of force by the ruler, but also was very useful in maintaining discipline. It was also very useful in convincing the ordinary soldier that the ruler, the king, is the actual sovereign and not their immediate military commander. Krishna Raya also took a stern approach against some of the rebellious, over-ambitious military rulers. Okay? So, although he was showing leniency towards them, but there were certain boundaries. कोई अगर rebel करेगा तो that rebellion is not going to be tolerated. They are going to be suppressed by force. He used his system of making matrimonial alliances to his advantage. तो जो सबसे powerful अमरनायकास थे उनके साथ इसने matrimonial alliances कर लिए, right? And with their help he was able to suppress the others also. ठीक है? These are the things that he did. Military administration में changes, then matrimonial alliances, and further better center periphery relations by reorganizing the way in which the central government functioned, right? Central government में एक secretariat होता था known as the Sachivalaya, right? It used to have a number of departmental secretaries. Secretaries were career bureaucrats जो कि शुरुआत से लेकर end तक अपनी field में expertise रखते थे, right? Now these secretaries came from various central government departments. तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के कोई ना कोई रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स होते थे. However, each of the Amarnayakas were also required to send at least 2 political representatives to the center to be part of the Sachivalaya. So these were one political and one military representative from the feudal lords. इसका उल्टा होगा या नहीं होगा? Is the center also going to send representatives to the courts of the Amar Nayakas? Yes. So the Amar Nayakas were also supposed to entertain two representatives from the center, a political and military representative from the center. ठीक है? Further कुछ और changes करेगा ये, such as reorganizing the pie system. ठीक है? Further capitalizing upon the religious significance of his office. So the rulers of Vijayanagara were known as living embodiments of God himself. और इसी चीज को ये बार बार emphasize करेगा. In order to obviate any rebellion forming against. ठीक है? तो इसने इस तरह से using all these strategies he stabilized the political situation internally. Write down. अभी लास्ट क्या लिखा था आपने? It was Krishna Raya who brought about internal stability and transformed and revived Vijayanagara Empire as a major regional power. Full stop. He did this in the following manner. Number one, he satisfied the ambitions of the important feudal lords by institutionalizing a feudal system of government known as the Nayankara system. By institutionalizing a feudal system of government known as the Nayankara system. In place of provincial administration. Full stop. By doing this, इसी point में, by doing this, he was able to eliminate the internal friction and bring about better cohesion. Full stop. Next सब point, ये point number 1 है ना, इसके अंदर सब point लिखो. At the same time, he adopted a strict approach towards rebellious Nayakas. full stop. No leniency was shown towards them. No leniency was shown to them. No leniency was shown to them. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट नंबर 2 लिखो. नंबर 2, Krishna Raya understood the importance of the military. Understood the importance of the military and introduced changes. And introduced changes to enhance his control over it. Full stop. Enhance his control over it. Full stop. Subpoint. This involved a variety of practices. A variety of practices such as surprise inspections, comma, regular training, comma, the use of military liaison or military agents to oversee the training and discipline of troops under the different feudal lords. ठीक है. लेकिन ये सारी जो चीजें हैं they could succeed only to a particular extent, right? Now by this point of time the nature of warfare in the Deccan region had transformed. इसके पहले which power was considered to be the most was considered to be the strongest? The infantry and the elephant force. तो elephants के force के ऊपर इसके पहले जो warriors थे, fighters थे, वो rely करते थे, right? However, with the success of Delhi in the south, one thing had been proven that elephants से ज़्यादा effective क्या हैं? Horses. लेकिन horses locally available थे नहीं, ठीक है? तो उनकी supply limited थी and that could be controlled by the center. So how to keep the Amarnayakas under control? By controlling the supply of horses. उनको कुछ number of horses ही दिए जाएंगे. The center is always going to maintain a superiority when it came to the cavalry. Write down. Next subpoint. Additionally, comma, the center maintained its monopoly over the supply of horses. Thus curtailing the ambition of any powerful feudal lord. ठीक है. Next, number 3. Krishna Raya also used military alliances as a method to control the feudal elements. Full stop. He made matrimonial alliances with the strongest and used their military might to contain other ambitious chiefs. Next, number 4. Krishna Deva Raya also made arrangements for better coordination between the center and the feudal lords. Full stop. Subpoint. All feudal lords were supposed to send two representatives to the central secretariat. Full stop. These included one political and one military agent. Similarly, they were also supposed to receive a political and a military agent from the center. ठीक है? Next, number 5. Additionally, Krishna Deva Raya also relied upon an elaborate system of spies to receive regular reports from his whole territory. Next point, number 6. Lastly, he also emphasized the position of the king as the divine ruler of Vijayanagar. in order to inspire the natural feelings of devotion and loyalty among the common subjects. Among the common subjects. क्या लिखा है अभी आपने? The natural feeling of devotion and obedience and loyalty among his common subjects. Among his common subjects. Full stop. Thus, they would prevent any rebellion against the ruler from succeeding. Okay? Now, political rebellions have a better chance if the population is with the rebellion and against the ruler. लेकिन अगर लोग ही ruler के साथ हैं, they have little chance of succeeding. Clear? So, this is how Krishna Deva Raya was able to bring the internal situation under his complete control. How about external situation? Who were his enemies, biggest enemies? The Bahmanis, right? So write down. हाँ, by this point of time, in fact, Bahmani kingdom ना वो 5 टुकड़ों में टूट गया था. So successor states of the Bahmanis were his biggest these things enemies. Write down. Krishna Deva Raya was equally successful on the external front. Was equally successful on the external front. Full stop. He took back control. He took back control of the whole of the Raichur Doab by expelling both Bijapur, B-I-J-A-P-U-R, Bijapur and Odisha. So rulers of Odisha had also exerted their authority over a portion of this region, Raichur Doab. ठीक है? So by this point of time, देखो हुआ क्या था कि विजयनगर एम्पायर तो इसके साउथ में है, right? But the Bahmani kingdom had split into 5 constituent powers. These were Ahmednagar, Bijapur, Golconda, Berar and Bidar. ठीक है, ये था अहमदनगर, बीजापुर, गोलकोंडा, बेरार और ये बीदर, ठीक है। तो 5 हिस्सों में ये टूट गया था। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस देयर वर सम अदर रीजनल पॉलिटिकल फॉर्मेशंस आल्सो, सच एज दी गजपतीज ऑफ ओडिशा, ठीक है। तो दे वर ऑल्सो वाइंग फॉर कंट्रोल ओवर विच रीजन्स, यहाँ पे जो साउथ में प्रोडक्टिव रीजन्स है, इधर दी कृष्णा गोदावरी डेल्टा और दी रायचूर दोआब, right? Now, out of all these powers, Bijapur was considered to be the strongest, followed by Ahmednagar and finally Golconda. Berar और बीदर जो थे, they were both minor powers. Ultimately, Ahmednagar ended up annexing both of them. ठीक है? Bijapur also was sometimes in an alliance with Golconda, sometimes in an alliance against Golconda. ठीक है? तो कभी कभार वो विजयनगर के फॉर होते थे, कभी कभार अगेंस्ट होते थे। सिमिलरली कभी कभार अहमदनगर एंड बीजापुर वुड गेट इनटू एन अलायंस, कभी कभार दे वुड फाइट अगेंस्ट ईच अदर। सिमिलर वाज द केस विद ओडिशा आल्सो। तो the contributions of Krishnadev Raya in this regard was that first of all he was able to eliminate the combined influence of Bijapur and Odisha from the region of Raichur Doab, first of all. Second, right, further he was also able to weaken the Adil Shahi Sultanate of Bijapur considerably. The Adil Shahi Sultanate of Bijapur considerably by entering an alliance with which foreign power? With the Portuguese. ठीक है? In the year 1510, the Portuguese captured the important port of Goa with assistance from Krishnadev Raya. ठीक है? तो Krishnadev Raya assisted them in capturing Goa, which till now was under the rule of Bijapur. ठीक? How is this going to affect the nature of the relationship between Bijapur and Vijayanagar? Goa was one of the most important ports on the entire western coast. ठीक है? यहाँ पर बहुत सारे अरब मर्चेंट्स आकर के अपना सामान लैंड करवाते थे, एंड वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट इंपोर्ट्स फ्रॉम गोवा वाज हॉर्सेस। ठीक, नाउ द पोर्चुगीज केम अलोंग, सबसे पहले दे एलिमिनेटेड द अरब्स, देन दे टुक ऑन गोवा इन अलायंस विद विजयनगर। तो आर दे गोइंग टू कंटिन्यू सप्लाइंग हॉर्सेस टू बीजापुर, या फिर ये विजयनगर को मोनोपोली दे देंगे हॉर्सेस? दे आर गोइंग टू गिव अ मोनोपोली ऑफ हॉर्सेस टू विजयनगर, and we have already seen that military success depends on the cavalry's superiority. So during the period of Krishnadev Raya, Vijayanagar had superiority when it came to the cavalry. What is it that you have written last, Abhi? Weaken the Adil Shahi Sultanate of Bijapur considerably by allying with the Portuguese. Full stop. He assisted them in capturing Goa and secured and secured a monopoly over the supply of horses, over the supply of horses. ठीक है, thus giving Vijayanagar a distinct advantage, thus giving Vijayanagar a distinct advantage. Okay, now Krishna Dev Raya was thus able to take Vijayanagar to the peak of its power. However, a process of decline started after his death in 1529. ठीक है, now Krishna Dev Raya was succeeded by first Achyuta Raya and then Sadashiv Raya. However, Sadashiv Raya was not a true monarch. He was a puppet ruler. In the hands of his prime minister, Aliya Ram Raya. He was the de facto ruler, the real authority behind the throne. Right? Now, initially, Aliya Ram Raya was successful in convincing Bijapur and Golconda to form an alliance with Vijayanagar against Ahmednagar. He promised them both territory, money, a share of the loot, etc. The ruler of Ahmednagar was thus defeated and utterly humiliated. Okay? However, Ram Raya did not stop there. He also began persecuting Muslims living in the region of Ahmednagar. Now, how are his Muslim allies going to react against this? फेवर करेंगे या फिर उसको रोकने की कोशिश करेंगे? They tried to stop him. However, इसने क्या किया? पलट के इन्हीं के ऊपर अटैक कर दिया. He also invaded Golconda and destroyed some forts along with some mosques. He killed some religious personalities. He forced some Muslims to convert, etc. तो जो उस समय नॉर्मल पैटर्न होता था वही इसने वहां पे किया. And what is going to be the result of this? The former enemies, Bijapur, Golconda and Ahmednagar, now they are going to find a common oppressor, that is Aliya Ram Raya. And this resulted in the formation of a grand Islamic alliance involving Bijapur, Golconda and Ahmednagar against Vijayanagar. ठीक है? And the most fateful battle of this conflict was the Battle of Talikota, also known as the Battle of Rakshas Tagdi, also known as the Battle of Bani Hatti, fought in the year 1565. The combined armies of these three Deccani Muslim sultanates were able to utterly defeat the forces of Vijayanagar, and this marked in the real sense the end of Vijayanagar. Following the defeat of their army, the Deccani Sultanate armies marched towards Vijayanagar and sacked it. Vijayanagar was sacked and destroyed. Many of its structures were broken. The city was set on fire, and many of the inhabitants were slaughtered, while the others fled. Right? After this, the city of Vijayanagar could never revive its former glory. तो ये जो राम राया था, he तो was captured on the battlefield and publicly executed. ठीक है, तो he was no longer in the picture. बचा कौन? सदाशिव राया, right? He was in no position to defend himself. He had not gone to the battlefield. So Sadasiv Raya was assisted by the younger brother of Ram Raya, whose name was Tirumal Raya, to flee from Vijayanagar. तो भगा दिया इसको यहाँ से, ठीक है? And Sadasiv Raya therefore continued ruling as the ruler of the Vijayanagar Empire, which had now declined, but it was still in existence till 1572. Okay? In 1572, इसके दिमाग में बल्ब जला क्या? That he is king because of me. His power has declined. People do not respect him. They hold him responsible for the destruction of Vijayanagar. Therefore, I should replace him as the king. And in 1572, this led to the formation of the Aravidu dynasty, when Tirumal Raya replaced Sadasiv Raya as the ruler of Vijayanagar. Okay? Now, some attempts were made to re-establish the city of Vijayanagar, but all of them proved abortive. Vijayanagar was never able to revive its power and went on shrinking continuously. Right? सबसे मेजर इसके ऊपर प्रेशर कहाँ से लग रहा था? बाहर से, अंदर से? अंदर से लग रहा था. राइट? जो इसके नायकास थे, which till now Krishnadev Raya and the Nayankara system had been able to keep in control, now they exerted their complete autonomy, independence. ठीक है? And because internally the situation was fragmenting, therefore external forces also took advantage. Bijapur and Golconda continued to expand their territory at the cost of the former Vijayanagar Empire. One by one, they continued gobbling it. ठीक है? Write down. लास्ट पॉइंट क्या लिखा था आपने? कृष्णदेव राय के बारे में बात कर लिया ना? हाँ, लिखो नेक्स्ट और गिव द नेक्स्ट सब हेडिंग, डिक्लाइन ऑफ द विजयनगर एम्पायर. डिक्लाइन ऑफ द विजयनगर एम्पायर. राइट डाउन. क्या? अराविदु डायनेस्टी अभी बताता हूँ मैं, थोड़ा बहुत. डिक्लाइन ऑफ द विजयनगर एम्पायर. राइट डाउन. After his death, Krishnadev Raya, after his death, Krishnadev Raya was succeeded by कौन कौन? अच्युता राया and Sadasiv Raya consecutively. Full stop. Next point. The latter सदाशिव राय की बात कर रहे हैं. The latter was a puppet ruler controlled by his prime minister Aliya Ram Raya. Full stop. Initially, next point. Initially, Ram Raya was able to use the hostility between Bijapur, Golconda and Ahmednagar to his advantage. But his arrogance, ghamand, arrogance and unwise political maneuvering resulted in the emergence of a grand Islamic alliance against Vijayanagar. Full stop. Next point. The combined armies of Bijapur, Golconda and Ahmednagar defeated Vijayanagar's forces at the fateful battle of Talikota. लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे तालीकोटा, Talikota, तालीकोटा in 1565. Full stop. Ram Raya was captured and executed on the spot. Full stop. The next point, the Islamic forces then marched to the city of Vijayanagar, completely sacking and destroying it. Full stop. This virtually marked the end of Vijayanagar power. Of Vijayanagar power. Full stop. Although the state continued to for almost exist for almost a century, comma, it was never able to recover its former glory. Recover its former glory. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया डिक्लाइन ऑफ द विजयनगर एम्पायर. नेक्स्ट, गिव दिस सब हेडिंग Aravidu dynasty. लिखो. After the battle of Talikota, comma, the brother of Ram Raya, क्या नाम था? तिरुमल राया fled from Vijayanagar with the king to Penugonda. ठीक है, सब पॉइंट. Gradually some territories were recovered and order was restored. Full stop. Next point, main point. Finally, in 1572, Tirumal Raya dethroned Sadasiv Raya to establish the Aravidu dynasty. Full stop. Next point. However, by this stage, the king had very little real authority. Over the feudal elements, within brackets Nayakas. Over the Nayakas. ठीक है. Next point. One of Tirumal Raya's successors, Venkat the second, transferred the capital to Chandragiri, and tried to arrest the decline. To arrest the decline. And tried to arrest the decline. Did he succeed? No. However, his attempts ultimately failed. Ultimately failed. And what is going to happen during the 17th century? Many of the Nayakas of the Vijayanagara Empire are going to become completely independent, establish their own kingdom. Okay? Write down. Next main point. Thus, during the 17th century, many of the subordinate Nayakas became independent. Resulting in the emergence of the Nayaka states. नायका डायनेस्टीज कहाँ पे इमर्ज हुई, सुना होगा आप लोगों ने. मदुरई में एक इमर्ज हुआ, सिमिलरली तांजौर में, पेरम्बुदूर में, राइट, बेंदूर में, कई जगहों पे इमर्ज हुए, राइट. सच एज नायका स्टेट्स सच एज मदुरई, तांजौर, etc. Next point. In the meanwhile, comma, Bijapur and Golconda also expanded southwards continuously, absorbing the remaining territory of Vijayanagar. ठीक है, तो ये कवर कर लिया हमने पॉलिटिकल हिस्ट्री. In tomorrow's class, we'll be talking about administration, central provincial revenue, feudal system or Nankara administration, Ayagar system or village local self-government, the debate regarding the nature of the Vijayanagar state, and the question whether the Vijayanagar empire was the result of Hindu revivalism or not. ठीक है, तो ये सारे portions हैं we are going to address tomorrow. Clear? We'll also try to address the cultural contributions of Vijayanagar, especially कृष्ण देव राय. तो इसको भी कल ही कोशिश करेंगे, तो इतना हम कल कर लेंगे. एंड जो बाकी पोर्शन है इन दी फ्यूचर क्लासेस, विजयनगर एम्पायर का इकोनॉमी, सोसाइटी और फिर बहमनी सल्तनत, देन द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन बहमनी एंड विजयनगर. तो कोई डाउट्स हो तो प्लीज लेट मी नो, both offline and online students. Are there any doubts? Shall we end this session? No? अर्चना, विकी, कोई डाउट्स तो नहीं है? No? All right. चलिए. Thank you for your time. See you guys.